Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Talking Business with Chad and Mike. We are coming to you from Chicago, New York, which is kind of our regular setup here. And Mike, would you like to introduce our guests to the audience today?
I would indeed. Nice to see you, Chad. And I'd like to welcome my friend, Tim Gannon, who's president and owner of BigWork Digital, a New York-based award-winning video production company that focuses on crafting tailored video content for manufacturers, the banking industry, the legal profession, and the travel retail industry. So Tim is a dedicated craftsman who believes that understanding your goals is the foundation for creating a video that tells your story and captivates and resonates with your audience. As his company's creative director and face, Tim brings a sharp eye and a storyteller's instinct to each project. And so with roots in feature films and episodic television, Tim's mission is to create content that moves people, sparks thought, inspires action. And for Tim, a successful video does more than just inform. It engages, it leaves an enduring impact on his audience. So welcome, Tim. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much. Wow, I sound way better than I think I do.
Mike has a talent in that. So, okay, so here's your icebreaker, Tim. So you're familiar with the Sphere in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Okay. If you could watch any movie in the Sphere and it be adapted to show inside on that surface, what would you pick?
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Answer.
Yeah.
Just to see the spaceships and the Wagner music. I think it was Wagner, if I remember correctly.
I think it was different. Yeah, I think it was a number of composers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
What about you, Mike?
What's the film that Coppola did about Vietnam? What was it?
Apocalypse Now?
Apocalypse Now. I think that would be really something else to see in the Sphere. I mean, that would be like really in it. And,
Talk about immersive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna go back to the sci-fi and I'm gonna go Star Wars. Space battle scenes, stuff like that.
Yeah, coming at you from all sides.
Yeah. I'm going to go there. I was last in Vegas. They were still finishing up. They had the outside done, but it wasn't open, for shows or anything yet. So that would be a pretty cool experience to see.
By the way, I know that I'm going to just digress for a second. Apocalypse Now Redux is better than the original Apocalypse Now.
What do you mean? They did a second version of it?
Coppola did a second version called Redux, and it's longer, but I think it plays better.
Okay. Well, when they play it at the Sphere, I'll be there.
Another movie on my watch list. It's like my watch list on Amazon and Netflix and everything else. I'll never finish it.
So I gave you this big intro, Tim, and now, and I believe everything I wrote. So sometimes
I'm starting to believe it.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your approach, BigWork's approach?
It's always pretty much the same. It always involves a lot of questions. Questions that don't really pertain to the client. Sometimes I'm curious about the sales cycle, even though we're not doing anything for the sales team. There's a lot of questions I ask, and to get a sense of their tone and their goals and their most especially their audience. Audience and tone, I think, are the two most important things to me. And business goals, but I look at tone and audience, and sometimes I come up with the ideas, or my team comes up with an idea for a concept for the video. Other times we're working with the client to develop a concept.
Well, what do you mean by tone?
Well, so I do work for Hudson News and Do Free Duty Free. Do Free Duty Free owns, they're now called Avolta, but Do Free Duty Free owns Hudson News. And they want specific tones. Sometimes they want it to be whimsical. So that's actually a word used. So we want this video to be whimsical. So what does that mean, whimsical? I mean, when you talk with the client and you discuss, and you understand that you can actually bring tools in, camera tools or editing tools, things that are, during production and post-production that can actually make it whimsical. In one job we did for Hudson, for instance, we had a snorkel lens, which is a lens looks like an aardvark's nose, attaches onto the front. And what we were able to do is zoom in, dolly right in between some packages to reveal faces of people picking out snacks. And that's what I mean by whimsical. So that's whimsical. It's a whimsical shot. That's what I mean by whimsical, and how we come up with that. We did a big job on Ellis Island, and it was very serious, and the client was behind the scenes during the renovation. So everything that they do is literally behind plastic. So I said, well, to get that tone, we're going to put all of you guys, we're going to interview you guys all in behind the scenes, where there's going to be ladders and chipped brick and all of this stuff. And then the Ellis Island people will do in Ellis Island to show the difference between, their client and their services. So that's just a visual concept that we came up with, to create the tone. They're behind the scenes. Ellis Island is not behind the scenes. So we're creating this a serious tone, but it's where we shot it was what set it all up.
So when you're working with a client, Tim, and they're trying to explain like maybe what they want to see, the tone or whatever else, how much of it is them bringing something to you, or maybe an example, or them kind of setting that description, that tone, and then you presenting like, this is how we interpret this is how we think it would be?
Oh, it's all over the place, all of those things. I ask them if they have comparables. What do you like? What's a commercial that you like? We also do website. What's a website you like? Well, show me a video. And for instance, Hudson News, they will send me 5 videos of what they want, because they're very Hudson and Dufry. So they're very challenging client, because nothing they do is straightforward. It's always, they want you to, they're always pushing the envelope, doing like really interesting stuff. But I need comparables from them. Like we do the one video we did, there's a lot of what's called time remapping, where we're actually speeding up and slowing down at different points in the video to create a dynamism and a tone. But I needed to see comparable videos to understand what exactly he wanted, what the client wanted.
So if I might, okay, you tell stories.
Yes.
But maybe talk about that. That. I mean, how does the visuals tell the story?
I think it's the whole piece tells the story. First thing that came to my mind was a TV commercial we did for a meat company in Owensboro, Kentucky. We did a bunch of TV commercials, a bunch of radio spots for them, but we came up with a concept. Their issue was their ham was primarily sold during Christmas and Easter seasons, and they wanted to expand their market. So we came up, a new tagline for them was make Kentucky Legend ham your everyday tradition. So we also changed, rather than have, so the woman is the customer, but the man is typically the consumer for this brand. So the woman will buy the ham, but the man will be the one that eats it. So we decided to flip that and have the father and son make the ham, make that a beautiful grilled ham and cheese sandwich. So it's the father and son doing that, just getting it started, making it, and then the wife comes in, excuse me, at the end and says, "Did you save any for me?" So there's a beginning and a middle and an end that tells a typically a little bit different story, but please the client because we're trying to take the woman out of the kitchen, put the father and son in there, and there was a beginning, middle, and end. We did the same thing with one of their hot dog brands. Was we had the girl eating the hot dog, the girl interacting with the hot dog and it was animated hot dog and bologna packages to change it up from typically boys. You think of boys eating hot dogs, ball games and grabbing a dog. Well, we put women and girls in these 3 TV commercials that we did for them. But there was a story, a beginning and a middle and an end, even to a 30-second spot. The same thing happens in a corporate video. You tee it up by saying, what essentially they're doing here. Then you tell them what you're doing in the video. For instance, Ellis Island, we're putting all these devices in that are going to protect the Ellis Island from any water damage. And then you wrap it up by saying with the client, the client of the client saying how great they were. It was all on time, on budget, great working with them. That's the third act. So you got the setup, what they're doing, and then the wrap up. So that's the story. It follows. It's just like, I don't mean to sound lofty, but it's, classic narrative, beginning, middle, and end.
Well, so with the work that you're doing now, how has AI influenced it in a positive way, or maybe, a way that a lay person would like, well, you can just do that quickly with AI now. Like, do they think it's a shortcut, or, are you able to, are there opportunities to use it that help you put out a better product, or what's the state of that, like with your working in the industry?
Well, I think AI has a really terrific space in video production, but not necessarily with what I do. So if you're a company that wants to pump out social media videos, you can do a voiceover, you can send it into these services and they'll churn out, and you can send them any assets you have, video or film assets, and they'll put it together a pretty decent video for a few $100. But it's going to have a generic vibe to it. It's not going to have the same, authenticity and personality that a filmmaker, a video production company can bring to it. Mm-hmm. Now, on the bigger side, I've watched an English company made a 2.5-minute trailer about a Roman battle in Britain, and it was essentially a trailer all done with AI. Even the voices were AI generated. And I watched this 2.5-minute trailer, and I thought, I'd go to that movie. But it's just a trailer. They want to show you how great AI can be, and it can be. It's awesome, but it's going to cost. Mm. But for the smaller companies, AI video, it's great.
So then how do you, if that's the case, if AI videos are great for small companies, how do you differentiate yourself from guys who are charging, very minimal because they're just putting together with AI, and you are, doing it with using AI perhaps as a tool, but using your own skill, your own expertise, your own background, and your own 2 hands and your 2 eyes? How do you do that? How are you going to compete?
Well, it's really hard to have a dolly shot with a snorkel lens in AI. I referenced that earlier. It's you're bringing actual camera tools to the set that you can't get with AI. AI can put up all these nice pictures. I'm talking on lower budget AI, not the trailer that I just referenced, but on lower stuff. It's like there's tools that we bring, there's lights that we bring that change depending upon, there's different cameras and different lenses. Everything that we bring, every single job, is always slightly different. There's jobs when I've been on where we've got a dolly, we've got a crane, we've got a gimbal, and we've used them. Now you can't do that really with AI. I mean, you could, but it's good. Again, not within a decent budget.
Right. So what, in the time that you've been with BigWork, and you started that, and since you've been on this journey, what has been like a business lesson, or like as an entrepreneur, something that surprised you? or something that you would want to share with someone else kind of following in your footsteps, doing the same type of stuff, or just business in general?
Doesn't matter how good you are. If nobody knows you or sees what you're doing, then it's not going to go anywhere. So you've got to get out there. Even, we're a small company, but we have to get out all the time and get in front of people, show them our work, show them what we can do, talk about budget, talk about tone, talk about concept. Because, they're not going to find me any other way. And 90%, 95% of all I get is through references and repeat business. I mean, Ellis Island job, that followed a job we did 2 years ago. Hudson News and Dufree, been shooting all over the country and in Canada for them for over 6 years. So you're delivering, you're delivering what the client wants and they're happy. But that doesn't mean anybody else is going to find me. So as an entrepreneur, you got to get out there and you got to meet people, you got to network, and you got to shake a lot of hands.
So with just as a follow-up for that, so it used to be you could walk into an office, you could talk to someone, and now you got security and blah 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 trying to get into places. Like what is a technique you use to meet people? Like, is it conferences? Is it networking? Is it?
It's networking.
Okay.
It's networking. I belong to a couple of organizations. I belong to a creative marketing group that I've gotten a couple of really, really good jobs out of it. Fun jobs. Most of the jobs I get are fun, or I make them fun. I'm one of those guys that I've liked it since I was a little kid. Liked making movies since I was a little kid, especially in college when I realized you could learn to make them. Film school was great. I just like doing it. It doesn't. So I don't know. It doesn't matter who the client is or what the job is. I just dig it. But
so what are there specific qualifications for somebody who gets into video?
Anybody can do it, I think. But you gotta. And look, it's prolific. By the way, the biggest competition, there's so many people doing it right now. So many production companies in New York and around the country. Competition is fierce. Qualifications, I don't think you have to go to film school, but you have to want to make movies. You have to want to make videos, and then you have to learn.
So actually, if I just take 2 words, movies versus videos.
Well, videos, I think I always think of, when I think of videos, I think of commercials and corporate videos. When I think of movies, I think of feature films and episodic television, even though it's the same gear, it's the same equipment,
So where I was going with that question was, how do I put it? If you see, well, you could see a video as a video, or you could see video as a movie, right? So does that make a difference in telling the story?
No, I think I always see them as kind of I always see them as kind of a movie, because there's a first, a second, and third act.
Yes, but that's my point. See, you see it as a movie. A lot of people,
I guess, yeah.
But because video is so simple these days, at a basic level, I'm not sure that there are so many people out there who see the video as a movie. And I think conceptually, given your background and your experience as a cameraman in episodic television, you see that video as a movie. And I think that may be a real differentiation fact for just people who are, just using video as video, not necessarily realizing it tells the story. Movies always tell a story. Movies always have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes, but as John Le Goddard said, not necessarily in that order.
Well, let me ask you this, Tim. So kind of, building off of what Mike was just saying, I automatically think of Instagram or TikTok, where it's just like basically like that bite size. It's almost like the buffet.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to pick something, but what do you think the impact of that form of media, on like the science and the art of what you're doing? Is it complementary? Is it detracting? Like, how do you see that working with what people's expectations are nowadays?
I'll be honest with you, Chad. Never really thought about that. I think that just like AI is a tool, and Instagram, they all have their place. TikTok, Instagram, remember Vine? I thought Vine was clever and funny. Didn't last, but I thought it was clever and funny. I think they all have a place. They're just different. I don't know if that's a satisfactory answer, but that's kind of how
There's no grade.
Do you put your videos on Instagram and TikTok, or how does that work? Do you do videos specifically for Instagram and TikTok?
No, I have a couple of videos on. I'm not the most prolific social media marketer for my company. I should. I mean, I keep them up to date on my website. I keep it up to date, but I'm not. I should be doing that more, actually. And I think there's a new series that I'm doing called the Why series. And it's just why business leaders do what they do, as opposed to how much it costs and how much what they're going to do. It's why do you do it? Why do you do it? I mean, what's your origin story? And those I would put on Instagram and on YouTube. I do put stuff on Instagram for a client. Every 2 weeks, I repurpose these videos that I edit for YouTube and for Instagram.
So, what do you see as the future? Not for you necessarily, not for BigWork. What do you see for the future for videos, AI, and storytelling? What do you see? Visual storytelling. What do you see for the future?
I don't think visual storytelling is going to change, because it's what we've been used to for ever. Plays, Greek plays, all the way through movies. It's what we're used to. So I don't think that that's going to change. I think AI will get more integrated into it. In my editing systems now, I can do stuff with AI that it's in the beta phase, but let's say I have a shot. Oh man, I wish I had a half a second more, or 2 frames even. It gets down to that sometimes. 2 more frames. Now you can, with AI, it's in the beta phase, but you can actually extend the shot. So you're missing that half a second, those 15 frames or 12 frames, depending on how you shoot it, you can extend it. And I've looked at some examples, it's pretty darn good. So it's just another tool that can make your job easier.
So from a business perspective, there's a lot of talk about clusters. And as far as, where different industries or businesses, center around usually metropolitan areas. And with the increased competition in your industry and pretty much every industry around now, what do you see the role of companies that are more based in some of the, a more traditional cluster or metropolitan area versus competing against someone that might be in a less traditional market? Do you see that as being like more parity, or do you think there's still power and proximity to potential clients, or how have you experienced that?
I think there is power and proximity. I mean, New York is a bigger market than Owensboro, Kentucky. But I've seen the work from the small production company in Owensboro, Kentucky, and I thought they did great work. I think great work can be done anywhere. It's kind of like restaurants around the U.S. Once upon a time, it was San Francisco, New Orleans, L.A., New York for good food. Now you can get good food anywhere. It's kind of like that for video production. It's like there's some really talented companies and people all over, even in small markets, Rochester, Minnesota, Owensboro, Kentucky. Good work. So I don't know if that answers your question, but good work is good work, and I don't think it matters where you're from. If you're paying attention and you're thinking about your client.
I think it probably gets back to what you were saying earlier, like they've got to know about you though.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you this question on behalf of Chad. So if Chad wanted to make a video, how about that, Chad? If Chad wanted to make a video for his company, What would you recommend as the approach?
What would I recommend? What? I'm sorry.
Okay, if Chad wanted to make a video for his company, what would you recommend would be his best approach? How would he go about doing it?
Well, first he'd have to talk with me,
Well,
and then I would ask him. A lot of questions.
you know, that was obviously a setup, but honestly, what would you recommend besides talking to you? What should he do? What should he do if he wanted to do a video? What you know, people come to you and say, "I want to make a video for my company."
Okay.
What do you tell
I tell them, okay, so do an interview. Keep it short, and just shoot the hell out of it. Get as much B-roll as you possibly can. Because B-roll is all the footage that goes over the extra footage other than the talking head. So that's B-roll. It could be, you know, usually it's footage, but it could be stills, it could be other assets, but that's it. And, you know, because as pretty as you are, Chad, we don't want to see you talking the whole time. So we're going to want to cut away, and we're going to want to see what Chad does. So Chad is talking about, you know, working with a client. Well, let's get a shot of Chad working with a client. Okay, now the question is, well, how do you want to shoot that? Do you want to just do it straight up 2-shot, or do you want to have close up of the hand reaching in to, you know, to grip, or do they embrace? I mean, these are the things that I think about. How do you want? Okay, fine, we'll meet, but there's so many different ways to shoot that. And that's what separates the wheat from the boys.
So post-COVID now, for your work in your industry, was that a pivot point for you, or has it been kind of a getting back to how business as usual was prior to that with your work?
Well, COVID was interesting for me because we had pivoted about 5 years ago into websites. So we also do websites and branding, and that kept us pretty much fed through COVID. The first job that we did was a tail end of COVID. It was for a really big Japanese bank, 10th largest bank in the country. And we were able to shoot in their office, on one of their floors of their office in Manhattan. And they had 2 floors, gigantic bank. Nobody was there. No one was there. So we could shoot. I said, well, look, we're shooting in the hallway, because this is pretty. It's long, you know, long, soft focus, long lens stuff, woody, really nice. And nobody was there. There were no audio issues. There's nobody PA yelling, you know, rolling, lock it up. There's nobody. We had free reign for 3 days when we shot there. It was awesome. So again, I'm not sure if I'm answering your questions. I'm just, you know, freewheeling it here. So.
Oh, no. Well, it's always, you know, I always find it interesting to, like, some people, you know, they found new opportunities or new ways of doing something, and, you know, they adapted to it that way. Some businesses have just been like, oh, we got to get back to the way we were. And, you know, it's like return to office. Is there one set of the right answer? No,
there really isn't. No. And we did a big job at JFK during the heart of COVID too. And, you know, it's weird to be in Terminal 4 and an entire row of shops is dark with gates up in front. And people would just trickle in. It's great for us because nobody was in our way, but
other than, you know, that, has COVID changed?
No, I don't think so. I think it's back. I think it's back to normal. My cameraman, though, he still wears my director of photography. He still wears a mask when we go on locations. He's, you know, some people are more cautious than others, and so he'll wear a mask. But no, I think it's pretty much back to normal.
Okay. So I think we're coming up against about our 30-minute target. And is there anything, Tim, that you would like us to have asked you, or anything else that you would like to kind of let people out in the audience know about BigWork, about the work you do? Anything that you'd like to say? This is your opportunity.
I just really love what I do. My wife already thinking about retiring. I can't even think about it. It's like, nope. I'm going to do this for as long as I possibly can. I like being on set. I like budgeting. I like crewing up. I like editing. I like every aspect about it. Just really do.
Well, that's good enough reason.
That's why I do what I do.
There you go. There you go. Well, okay. So maybe one more thing about those "why you do what I do" type things. What are they? I mean, there people talk about themselves, etc. How long are they?
They're a minute long, and we're doing them remotely. And what I do is I take the footage, and then I edit up into a minute-long piece with well, we did one for an attorney, and her firm saw it, and they said, you're going to have to brand it all up with our colors and our font if we're going to use it. So, because she was going to use it for herself, but now her firm says, no, I think we might want this. So, but it has to be branded. You have to change the font in the beginning. You have to make it, you have to brand it properly, which is what I did this morning, actually. Boom, no big deal. But it's what they do is they're very authentic videos, and they're very honest, and they're just saying why they do what they do, where it came from, and it really kind of they transcend the business transaction, because first of all, we only like to, the people we work with are people that we like and trust. And these little minute-long videos, which are great for social media, great for their websites, they're authentic. They're authentic.
Well, it's a good word to end the conversation on, being authentic, don't you think, Chad?
Definitely. And we will include links in the post here and also on the YouTube posting as well. This video will be available in both places. And thank you very much. It's been really, interesting and educational. From my perspective, I have very, very basic video skills compared to a professional like yourself, no doubt. But thank you for making the time and talking with us this morning.
My pleasure. It was really a lot of fun.